When we go blank on stage, one of the best ways to actually deal with that situation is to use something known as redirection tools. When that unfortunate thing happens, when we blank out and we have to give a speech, we get into this vicious cycle. We simply forget a line, and then instead of bringing ourselves back on track, we tend to start thinking, oh my God, is the audience judging me? And we get more nervous about it, and then we forget more lines, and eventually we're not thinking of our speech, but we're thinking about what the audience might be thinking of us. And it's understandable why this might happen during a speech or a presentation. There might be a lot of eyes staring right at us. So that's where this thing called redirection tools comes into the picture. They're basically things that we can use to draw the audience's focus away from us. It involves things like playing a video, or asking the audience a question, or bringing volunteers onto the stage, making them do an activity, anything that draws away the attention from us while still moving our point forward is known as a redirection tool. When we're preparing for this particular presentation, we can keep certain questions, activities, or media, which is like videos or audios, in mind that we can go to at almost any point in our speech. And this gives us a safety net. So if we were to ever forget something and we feel like we're about to blank out, we can draw the people's attention to that thing. For instance, when I would give business presentations to corporates and I would go blank quite frequently, I would say something to this effect. To deviate a little from my main point before I move on, I would like to ask you, what is the main challenge that we're trying to solve for? And this would work wonders because the attention would now be on them. And instead of it being just a speech where I'm the one doing the talking, it would become more of a conversation, and it would allow me the time to gather my thoughts so that I could get back on track to give that particular speech. And the same thing applies to places like Toastmasters or college projects. Another example of this is that one time at Toastmasters, and in case you don't know what Toastmasters is, we've made an entire video about that, so I'm leaving a link in the description for the same. But when I was giving a speech over there, the entire speech was around music and the importance of music. And I was very nervous about blanking out because it was quite a long speech. So I kept a video ready behind me on the projector slides. And the video essentially encapsulated a particular example which moved my point forward. And I could essentially play that video at almost any point in my speech because it wasn't breaking any flow. So whenever I got the feeling that I'm about to blank out, I would just redirect my audience's attention to the video by saying a similar phrase. To deviate from my main point, before I move on, I would like to show you this video. So while you're preparing for your presentation, think about what type of redirection tools you can use. Is it a question you want to ask the audience? Is it a game you want to play with them? Or is it a video that you want to show them? And all we have to do is try to make sure that that particular activity can happen at almost any point in our speech. But for whatever reason, what if we can't use these tools? There's a simpler way out of this. And it all comes down to remembering our through line. The through line is basically that one line which defines the idea of our speech. For instance, in this TED Talk, The Paradox of Choice, the through line here is more choice actually makes us less happy. And the entire speech, all the stories, all the facts, all the research is surrounding that one idea, the through line. And while we're giving a speech, if we simply forget our way, we can mentally come back to this through line. What is the main idea of our speech? And there's a chance it may help us pick up directly from where we left off. And even if we don't pick up from exactly where we left off, it'll still help us start from quite a relevant space. So before you go onto stage, ask yourself this question: does my speech have a through line in the first place? If it does not, there's a chance that the speech might feel very information heavy, and that might be a key reason as to why we blank out on stage. But if we have a defined idea and we keep coming back to that, it'll help our speech be a lot more concise and to the point, and we heavily reduce our chances to blank out on stage. Now, of course, if you can take notes on stage, there's nothing like it. That's a very obvious point, so I'm not going to cover that. But a more important thing to talk about, and this is how I would want to conclude this video, is that we go very, very hard on ourselves when we blank out on stage. And that happens because we're focused on the wrong thing. We're focused on us as the speaker and not on the audience. We need to keep in mind the fact that we're here to add value to the audience in some way. We're here to either entertain them, educate them, or inspire them. As long as they walk away with one of these things, they will forgive if we blank out for a few seconds, if we make a few mistakes, or if we forget a line or two. And when we look at things that way, blanking out doesn't seem like the worst thing to happen. And that's about it. Redirection tools, remembering your through line, and knowing the fact that we're here to add value to the audience, not give a perfect speech. If you have any more questions around things like public speaking or communications, we have an entire website with in-depth articles and resources dedicated just for that. So go check out franticallyspeaking.com. And while you might have an idea about what to do if you blank out on stage, here are some things that will help you actually prepare for a speech. Check out that video right here.